Hello everyone and welcome to this Selenium with Python tutorial. In this tutorial we will learn to handle the drop-down based date pickers. So let's begin. In our previous tutorial we learned that how we can handle the simple calendars or the date pickers. Now let's see how we can handle the drop-down based date pickers. So first let's see how they look like for this particular tutorial. I'm using this particular website. So let me copy the URL and let me go to the browser here. Let's open this one. And here you see we have two different date pickers or calendars. If I click on this one, here you see that we have a drop down. So you will be selecting the month and the year from the drop down. Okay. Now simply go to the PyCharm here and let me create one new Python file. I'm naming it as datepicker2. And the first thing is that we need to open the browser, right? So for that we need a driver. So browser is equals to webdriver.chrome and we need to import the WebDriver, right? So if you hover on this one, import this one. So Selenium.WebDriver, click on this one. Now what we need to do is that we need to maximize the browser. So browser.maximize window. And the good practice is that we should create a variable for the URL and have the URL over here instead of passing the URL direct into the browser.get method. Okay, so let me go here and copy this URL and let me go back here and provide this one. Now simply browser.get and I'll pass this variable which is URL. Okay. And let's run this one and see what happens. It should open the Chrome browser and maximize the window and then open this website. Yes, so this is working absolutely fine. Now the first thing is that we need to identify this calendar and we need to click on this one. Okay, so if I go here, this is a calendar. Let me inspect this one. And let me go to the selector sub. So we have the CSS selector, we have the ID here as well. So let's go with the ID and let me go back here. So let's identify this one and click on this one. So why we need to click on this one? Because there is a reason. If I go here, until unless I don't click on this one, this calendar doesn't appear. That's why on the first step we are just clicking on this field. Okay, now browser dot find element by dot id and let's import the by and let me type it again dot id and here we need to provide the id. Now just click on this one and after clicking, now I'm giving some time.sleep here for like 5 seconds. And now we don't want to go with the hard-coded values. What I can do is that I can simply go here, simply just click on this one, go here, click on this one, then click on this one. That's how I can do it. But there's a problem. The problem is that if you are running your test maybe every week, maybe on the daily basis, depending on your regression plans, your test might fail depending on the functionality. So in some cases, your functionality says that the date should be in the future. In some cases, it should be the current date. In some cases, the date should be in the past. So if you hard-coded the values, your script will fail. So we don't want the hard-coded values to be passed here. Okay. So in this case, what I will do is that just like in our previous tutorial, we will be picking up our current date and we will be using delta to grab the next date or the date which is in the past. So based on that, we will be passing the values. Okay. So simply let me go here and I will create one variable called current underscore date and I will be using date time here. So date time dot, you see that we have a different options here, and we should have option called now, and we need to import this one. So we need a date time, so import this one. So now you see that this error has gone. So import date time, but this is not how you should import it. So let me remove this one. Let me tell you how you should import this one, because we need a delta as well. So from date time, import date time, and we also need a time delta. So now this will give me a current time. Okay, so let's print this one and see what we get. So let me copy this one and pass this variable here, and now let's run this one and see what happens. So what kind of a date we are getting, or the day, and what format we are getting, let's see. So execute this one, and after executing, you see that the calendar is opened because we click on this one, and this is what we are getting. You see, so we have year, we have month, we have date, we have now time. So we are getting everything, and this is the current, my current time, right? This is the current time. Okay, so that's how I'm getting current time. Now from the current time, what I need to do is that I need to go with the next day. In order to go with the next day, simply what I'll do is that I will create one more variable called next day. Next day is equals to, so current date plus time delta, and the delta I'm giving is in terms of the days, and days equals to 1. Now let me print this one and see what happens. So let me copy this one from here and paste it here, and now let's run this one. So we are giving a delta for day 1. So this particular variable next day will always have a value which is greater than the current day. Okay, so you see that here, this is the current one and this is the delta one. So exactly a 1 day of delta here, and this is a 10th. Okay, and now from next day, you see that it contains the time and everything. So what I need to do is that I need a next day, a day only, not the month and everything. So what I mean is that let's create one more variable. I will name it as next underscore day, and I will be using a string function because I'll convert that into a string. And next day dot day, and now let's print this one and see what we get in this one. Okay, now let's run this one and see what happens. So converting in a string will help me to pass the values. That's why I'm converting into a string value. So once it will execute, we'll see what happens. So you see that we got a day. Okay, this day, year, month, and day. So I have a day here from this particular value, and this value is basically current date plus delta 1, and this is the current one. Okay, now once I have this one, what I'll do is that I will get the current month as well. So current underscore month equals to date time dot now and dot month. So I'm not using the delta here because I will be using some other strategy in order to get the next month from the dropdown. Okay, in a similar ways, let's get the current year. So current year equals to date time, or the current date dot year. We can do this in this way because in the current date we have the year. So current underscore date dot year. So it will give me a year. Now calculate the next month, which is current month plus 1, because I want to make sure that my date will be always in the future. So if we are studying in the March, it should select April. If you're in the April, it should go with the May. Okay, and here I will say next underscore month is equals to, so current underscore month. Okay, once I have this one, so let's calculate the mod 12 then plus 1. Okay, and now we'll calculate the next year. But month year is something which we need to pass, because when I was inspecting this drop-down picker, and if I go to this particular drop-down for this month, if I select any of the value, for example April, let me again inspect this value. We go here, so it's inside the select, and we have a March and we have a May, and you see that the value is showing 1/year. So it's month/year. This says month/year. So this is the year. So if I go with the 2024, and now if I inspect this value, so basically here now you will see a different value. It says 1/year. So month/year is a thing in terms of a value, and we have already know how to handle the drop downs using the value, and these are the drop down because this is a select, right? So let's me create one more variable. I will say that next underscore month underscore year, because I need this value. So for this, what I'll say, the next basically month, which is April, then after a month I need to give a slash, then the current year or the next year, whatever you want. So I'm actually formulating a value, and the value is month/year. This is what I'm trying to do here. Okay, so let me go back here, and this will give me this value. Now let's handle the drop downs. So I will say month underscore drop down, and let's find this one, browser dot find element, and let me go here and see. So if we look into this drop down, so we don't want to select a value actually. Let me remove this value from here, and now if I go here and inspect this date, pick month year, and here we can go with the class because the class is available, and also if we go with this one, so this is dot datepick dash month dash year, right? So we can identify this one, this drop down basically. So but what we need to do is that we don't want to go with the div. We actually want to go with this particular select thing. We need to identify this thing, right? And if I go with the CSS selector, I need to give a CSS. So CSS for this particular is right now this one. Change the month. Okay. So let's copy this one and by dot CSS selector and yes, selecting this one. Okay, so this is the CSS for this particular one. Now select, we're using a select class here. Select equals to select, and I need to pass the drop down here. And let's import this one. And now we need to pass the value. Okay, so select dot select by value. Why value? The reason is that if I go here, so this is the value and I have already formulated this thing. I'm getting the current or the next, date and the year, right? So let me go back here, and here I will be converting into string as well as I am passing this thing, because here we have formulated this thing. Okay, now it should select this value. Let's run this one and it should select, let's see what it selects. It should select the April over here from the drop down. Let's see either it's selecting or not. So you see that at the end it selected the April. So let me go with the time.sleep so that we can see the executions, and let me run this one here, and you will find that it will select the April from the drop down. And now you see that we are not hard coded this value, we have selected here. You can see that April is got selected here. Now let's pass or select the year. Okay, and for that again select, again this is a drop down, so select is equals to select, and here we need to pass the year drop down, and before that I need to find the year underscore drop down. Year drop down is equals to browser dot find element by, and let's find this one. We go here. So this is a relative CSS selector. Let me copy this one, and now let me go here and see dot CSS. Okay, and I need to pass this year drop down which we identified here and pass it here, right? And now select dot, here again you can go with the value, you can go with the index, you can go with the visible text. If you want to select the current year, you can select current year. If you want a next year in a similar way using the deltas and everything, you can get the next year. So right now, as I don't want to go with repeating same logic here, so what I'll do is I'll go with the simply by visible text, and the text is 2024. And after this, once it was selected, now I need to select the date. Okay, so if I go here, I will say, you'll see that I will not be using any hard-coded value. By dot If I go here and if I select inspect any of these values, like this is 9. So you see that it's a link, right? It's a link, but it's a dead link, right? It's an anchor tag, right? So this is a link. So I can go with the link text here, and the link text is basically here is the 9, right? So what I will do is that I will say by dot link text, and inside the link text, what I will do is that I will pass this next dot day, because if you remember, this next dot day is giving me a next day. Here in the first step, we are getting the current, complete date and time. By delta, we are getting this value. Okay, this is the one, and then I was getting a day, which I was converting into a string here and giving me a day 10th, which is a current day plus 1. So I will pass this one here directly, and now what I will say click, and that's it. Now let's run this one and see what happens. So you see that I haven't using any of the hard-coded values. So first it will select April, then year 2024, and you see that the date selected is 04/10/2024. So April 10, 2024. So you can use the delta. If you want to select a previous value, go with the delta -1. Delta +0 will give you a current one. So using these, you can easily handle the dropdowns. So let me just summarize this complete script for you so that you can understand what we were doing here. We were using a driver here. Using a driver, we were maximizing the window. We had created a URL variable, and this URL is inside this variable. Now in browser.get, we are opening the URL and passing this particular variable. Here we are identifying the date picker and clicking on this one. And why we are clicking is that after clicking, then the date picker was visible. After that, we are getting the current date. Current date contains everything: day, year, time, everything. Then I will say next day. So using the delta, and I'm using the days here. So current date plus delta of 1 day. So it was giving me a next day. Okay. And from the next day, I'm getting a day only. I was converting into a string. From that, now using this date time, I was getting a month and year. Then I was calculating a next month. Then I created a format because I know that in this particular HTML, whenever I go with any of this, so it was giving me basically, go here, let me show you once again. So if we go, sorry, this drop down actually. So here in the drop down, you see that the value is basically 1/2024, 2/2024, right? So in order to formulate this pattern, I created one more variable, next month underscore year, and formulated this particular format. Okay. Then I was identifying this drop down, and we know that they were using the select, so that's why using a select class and passing this one here and here, and then I was selecting a value which is converted into a string, because this next month underscore year is giving me this value, which is basically 2/2024, 3/2024, right? And this is how we are selecting the value from the dropdown. Then we are selecting the value using the visible text in the year, and then finally we are clicking on a day. So for that day, instead of using a hard-coded value, in the next day, basically we are getting this value from here, right? And we are just clicking on it. So we are not using any hard-coded values. We are getting the values dynamically and handling our calendar in an efficient way. If I run this script again and again, it will not fail because it will always pick up our next value. Okay, if you want to select a current value every time, go with the 0 delta or the current value only. If you want to select a value which should be in the past, go with the delta -1. If you haven't watched my previous tutorial, just go and check it out, because in that particular tutorial I have explained all these things over there. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. If you like our content, then do like, comment, share and subscribe our channel. Once again, thank you so much and see you in the next tutorial.